Today, I'm going to be talking about income distributions in Toronto. This guy was asking, what's the income distribution, yada yada, what's it like in Toronto? This guy forwarded that link. This does a much better job of showing what I want to get across here. So this is the full year full-time workers. So this is distribution of employment by sex and work activity. It does not include people that are unemployed. So this is skewed a little bit because the unemployment in Toronto is actually quite high. It's 8.7% as of June 2025. So unemployment has gone up. Interestingly, if you look at the average income, it has sort of trended up or flat from 2021, but the median income has actually gone down. So this kind of tracks with a lot of trends that people have been talking about and that we've been seeing, whether it's in the US or in Canada. People at the top are reaping in a ton of benefits. Their incomes have gone higher and higher. Assets have grown a lot. A lot of this money that was printed in the economy just went straight into assets for people that already had a lot of assets and a lot of money. For those who didn't, things got worse. Employment situations got worse. They didn't, benefit as much from the asset price inflation as those people who owned assets. But yeah, it looks like the top of the distribution from going back to 2019, the people earning over $100,000 has gone up, which again is kind of a good thing, but I don't know if we should read too much into it because it does show effectively that, $100,000 is starting to become more of a standard, of a requirement for living in Toronto. In 2021, the median total household income in Toronto was $84,000. This is the lowest of all regions in the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area, explained in part by the greater proportion of one-person households in Toronto as compared to the rest of Ontario. Okay, that makes some sense. The median total income of individuals aged 15 and older in Toronto was $39,200. This is the lowest level of all regions. Prevalence of low income: 363,000 people, or 13% of the population, with income below Statistics Canada low income measure after tax. This is 179,000 less than in 2016. This is largely, I would probably think, due to the transfers from COVID. What I want to point out is that the median total income of individuals aged 15 and older in Toronto is $39,200 as of 2021, and somewhere probably just over $40,000 now. And I recently made a video where I broke down all of the money that I was spending to live in this apartment where I am paying for half of it. Because I'm paying $1,200 for rent and I'm paying $650 a month to be educated, to get educated. And then you tack on all these other expenses. I used to have a car, which was another $500-$600 a month. I no longer have a car because it was just becoming too much. At the end of the year, I'm spending somewhere around $30,000 to $35,000 just to exist, just to one day earn a better income. It's crazy that the median, so half of all the people in the city, are making less than $40,000 a year, and I'm scraping by paying half of an apartment. So if, as this data says, there's a greater percentage of people in Toronto that are single households, the median is so low and the rents are so high, it's gonna suck for a lot of people. There's gonna be a ton of people who are spending more than 50% of their income on rent, and I'm sure I can find that data for you too. 18% of all households in Toronto are spending more than 50% of their income on housing costs. 23% of renter households and 12% of owner households are spending more than 50% of their income on housing costs. And that's 50%. The affordable level is considered 30%. Most renters are in unaffordable housing compared to owners as well, compared to 47% of renters. So almost half, this is the number that I was thinking of, 47% of renters are in what is considered unaffordable housing. So they're paying more than 30% of their total before tax income on housing costs. That's so many people. That's So many people, like approximately 48% of households are renters, which translates to 557,000 households based on 2021 census. 3 million. Goddamn, so that's 3 people per household. So if it's 3 people per household, and we're doing this math real quick, 47% are living in unaffordable housing. So that's 768,000 people in Toronto that are living in what is considered unaffordable housing. I think we have a little bit of a problem. And it's only been 4 years since 2021. While rents are getting a little bit cheaper, it hasn't gotten that much better. Rents down in Canada for 9 straight months. While this sounds great, this might sound like, wow, cool. And then you look at this chart. I was talking about 2021, okay? 2021, which is the lowest point on this graph, was when things were 47% of people were having trouble paying their rent. And if we look at the income average, median distribution, whatever you want to call it, the median has gone down. So the lower side of the income distribution is making less money than they were in 2021. Rents have, on the whole, in the last 4 years, gone up. People are making less money. That means to me that this number of 750,000 people that are living in unaffordable housing is probably higher than it was, which is it's impossible for me to fathom that a third of the population of Toronto is not making that much money. I went to school, and school told me that I would be making $100,000 a year as soon as I graduated. I'm not kidding. That was in their slideshow. That was in their PowerPoint. In Canada, in Toronto, we're not the US. We have more social supports. We have universal healthcare. We have a lot of things that are different from the US. We also don't have the level of innovation, income, and global dominance that the US has. So that means that our incomes are lower. Even just on a dollar-to-dollar basis, our incomes are lower than they are in the US. That's where I found this. How much money are people actually making? Where can you actually see these really high incomes? And what is considered doing really well in the city of Toronto? Who are the people that are the top 1% of the 1%? Who's in the 99th percentile? And how does that compare to the average? And who's in the 98th percentile, and how does that compare to the average? Let's say you go to university. They tell you, you can make $100,000 out of school. You're probably done your degree, 21, 22, 23 years old, and you're getting your first job. Maybe you get your first job at 24. You're still in this age bracket here. The 99th percentile income at this age is $73,000. If you get offered out of university in Toronto, in Canada, probably. Let's change this to Ontario. Yeah, it's about the same. It's $60,000, $69,000, $70,000. So if you get offered anywhere in Ontario, $70,000 as your starting salary, as soon as you graduate university, you are in the top 1% of income earners. And this is something that I don't think a lot of university students, people going into school, understand here. Yes, our university degrees are cheaper, but I know multiple people from their undergraduate degree who graduated with $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 of student debt. It's still a lot, and considering this is the top 1% of people, let's be realistic, okay? What's the educated population of Canada is 40% of people have a bachelor's degree or something like that. Most people in this age group, okay, regardless of education, whatever, are going to be working at Starbucks or McDonald's or in the service industry. Let's just call that a bit of an outlier because, 20 to 24, most of these people will still be in school. It's about 50-50. So fine, okay, half of people aren't working at all, half of people are. Maybe this 75th percentile number, by the time people get to 25 to 30, that should double. So let's see, did it double? Not really. It went up about 60%. Call it 5% of people that graduated university by this time that they get to this bracket, they're making more than enough to live off of. They're making enough to have an apartment in Toronto. They're making enough to save a lot of money, potentially buy a house in a couple of years. Okay, let's call it 10% of people. Everyone below that threshold, 25, this like $50,000, that's enough to save a little bit living in Toronto, living in most of Ontario, to be quite honest. But you're not going to be going very far with that amount of income. Let's say about 25% of people, by the time that they're in this age bracket, earning more than enough or enough to get by. But it's so crazy to me that so many people are educated in this country, and this is like the incomes that we have to deal with, and the average is $40,000. And the average like gets a little bit better as you go up. 30 to 34, this is like the argument that people make. Like this is when everyone matures. This is when people actually really start kicking out their careers. Something happens in human psychology when you turn 30, I guess. Like anytime after the age of 35, like all of these people in the top 25%, like you can get by just fine. Even the averages, let's say even the top 50%, like you can survive on that income after the age of 35. So something definitely happens between 35 and 60 where people get their lives together. At least like over half of the population does. That's a positive in a sense. I don't think I'll be able to get over this. It's still crazy to me that like you can advertise that a starting salary for people when they get out of school is anywhere near the ballpark of $70,000 to $100,000. There's a lot of kind of like income disparity. Like the neighborhood that I'm living in has a lot of people that are earning extremely high incomes. And there are lots of other areas in the city, as proven by these stats, where people are earning very low incomes. And I feel like we're not really doing enough as a society to kind of take care of people that need that help. But there's also so many other layers of issues on top of that, like building more housing in order to bring rental prices down for everyone. That benefits the economy as a whole in so many ways because we get more jobs from building this housing. If we get rid of some of the barriers in the way of doing so, and it becomes easier to build housing, more housing will get built. As rents come down, more people have more disposable income and can spend more money on cool new inventions that these engineers are making. The less that people feel strained by their housing costs, the more that we're building housing, the better a lot of problems get. And it also becomes cheaper for the city itself that has, city housing to basically pay for that housing. And then it doesn't cost the taxpayer as much to help the people that are lower income. So I think it's beneficial on many layers, specifically building more housing expenses to a more reasonable level. I don't really have a problem with like housing expenses being flat or like going up a little bit every year, as long as wages and incomes and building are outpacing that. So that's kind of my 2 cents on this topic. Hopefully you guys found it interesting. If you did, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.